But as soon as I got back to Vietnam, I mean, the mortars started coming in and rockets at nighttime. Every time I'd hear them coming, I would run into the bunker or whatever, try to hide from the explosions. And I would hear these questions rattling in my mind of, man, what happens when you die? And is there a God? And it was those questions that one night I was talking with some guys in my unit. One night we were talking and I told them about my questions and so on. They said, you know what? This book has the answers to your questions. And so I went out after that and I prayed the first prayer I ever prayed. And it was basically this: if you're for real, I want to know you. Prove to me that you exist and I'll believe in you. And he did.
We want to welcome everybody to Stoney Sessions. We have a very special guest with us today that we're so excited about. This is Pastor Den SLATTERY, and he is absolutely an amazing guy. We're so excited to have him, and he has an amazing story, just what the Lord has done in his life. And I mean, honestly, Nate, this is funny, man, but I call him a chaplain. I call him an author, a pastor, military, chaplain.
Yep.
I mean, everything that we can imagine as titles are beyond just.
I was a chaplain with the state police too for 10 years.
Oh wow! See what I'm saying? Like,
was that in Michigan?
In Michigan, yeah.
Wow. And a pastor at multiple churches. And
Yep.
Yeah, I remember when you came here, I was like, oh my goodness, what a gift it is to have. And I remember you came. We were doing a spiritual warfare series when I came, and you came up and. Just, I could tell right away that just the experience and the type of leader that you are. And we feel so gifted that you're here and excited about this podcast.
Well, the church has been a blessing to us too, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let me go into this first question. We're going to get right into it. And really today, Nate, what I want to do and why I want to bring Den on is just from his experience in the military, what God taught him, being a chaplain, serving there. Yeah. And even this great ministry that he leads at our church with his wife called BYF, that literally when they came was like 15 people, and now it's like over 100 almost every week, and it's unbelievable what God's
Our biggest attendance was 150.
Yeah, It's crazy. So we're so excited about having him here, and so I'm going to start off. Tell us about how you kind of tell us about your story and how you ended up in service, Den.
Okay, well. I was raised in Jackson, Michigan. My parents would take us to church now and then, but really we weren't very religious. So by the time I became a teenager, I sort of gave up on the church totally and called myself an atheist for the next 10 years or so. Wow. But in the midst of all of that, I had a friend of mine who lived across the street. And he came home one day after having served in Vietnam in the 101st Airborne Division, and he talked to me for about 4 or 5 hours. And the next day, I went down and signed up with the Marines.
Wow!
And said, I want to do what he did.
Wow. Did you have any kind of desire before that? Like, I mean, was it just out of that conversation, or had you kind of been thinking about?
I mean, growing up, we played cowboys and Indians all the time, so you sort of pretend that you're... the good guys, who are going to kind of save the day and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I think a lot of little kids go through that. Okay. And, but my dad had served in the World War II. Wow. He was on sort of the cleanup crew for Pearl Harbor. So he went to Pearl Harbor and stayed there for a number of months and so on. And then they sent him to the Pentagon. And anyway, so that was our family background.
Wow.
So you went and got enlisted. How long before you were like shipped away to boot camp? So the way they do it is that you sign your life away basically to the Marines. They say, we own you. And so they go through the oath of office and that sort of thing. And then they put you on a plane, send you out for us in Michigan, most of us go to California, San Diego area, Marine Corps recruiting depot. We got there at about 12 o'clock at night, and some guy with a Smokey the Bear hat jumps on the bus and starts
punching people in the face, you know. It's like, oh,
was it really?
What did I? Oh yeah.
Does it look like, you know, in movies they always show it like
Oh
that?
yeah.
Is it really kind of like that?
Yeah, they're not allowed to even swear at them anymore.
Okay.
Because too many recruits died in the process, and the Marines were sued a bunch of times and so on, both at Parris Island and at San Diego. So they're not allowed to do that anymore. But when I was there, oh yeah, they would beat us with their fists. They'd hit us with a rifle. I mean,
oh my,
it was knockdown, drag out kind of. You know, they said they were trying to toughen us up. And so anyway, when we got our hair cut off, they said, you are not fit to wear the Marine uniform. You're going to take a shower. So they took us to this big shower stall and told us to take off all of our clothes, told us to go inside. And as soon as we did, they said, hit the deck. And we got down on the floor, and they turned on the cold water and said, you are going to stay here until you learn the Marine Corps hymn. I didn't even know there was a hymn, you know. But anyway.
You did you did then, though, didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah, yeah. So we learned the Marine Corps
quickly.
hymn. I always tell people every time I hear the Marine Corps hymn, I still have a warm feeling inside.
Yeah, I'm
As I
sure.
remember that night.
wow.
But anyway.
Hold on. What were you thinking through that? Like, what are you like? What,
I was
what am I
thinking,
getting into?
Exactly.
Or really?
What did I do? Oh, no.
Do they give you a chance to like,
No.
let's say like back out?
I mean, you
Once you
can
sign it,
you
you're
can
in.
go AWOL, but of course they'll tell you if we catch you leaving or whatever, we can either court-martial you or shoot you.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's like they have a little incentive to sort of keep you in line, you know, and obeying the authorities is a pretty big deal. I mean, without authority and a chain of command, you know, we tell you to do something, you do it. And if you don't, you're going against the whole system.
How old were you then?
I was 19.
19. And then how long did you serve in the military?
So we were there at the basic training for about 4 or 5 months. And then we went to, I went to advanced infantry training at Camp Pendleton. And then I went from there to jungle survival school and then POW school. And then they put me on a plane and sent me to Vietnam.
Wow. How long were you in Vietnam?
Toya Vietnam Hanam. That means I lived in Vietnam 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah. So I did 2 tours there, and I lived in a village with the people. I went to language school and so on, and I was infantry, which means that a lot of people don't really understand this, but we would go out on patrol pretty much every day, looking for the enemy. And when we found them, we engaged them. So I had nightmares about that for years, you know. But anyway, that was what we did. And then I got into a special unit called a Marine Cap Unit. It's sort of a picture of that is on the front cover of my book. It's called Changed by War. And
Can you see that for a second?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's Vietnamese guys around us and so on. We lived in a village right with the Vietnamese people, and we would run patrols and so on every night to stop the enemy from coming in and stealing their food, raping the women, and killing the village leaders.
Wow.
So we did that every night.
So,
And,
so this goes to a question that kind of goes with that, and you kind of shared a little bit, but tell us about some of the challenges that you faced in the military. Like,
well, obviously the biggest one was the war itself. But, you know, it's not really hard to pull the trigger. But sometimes you have survivor guilt, you know, later on because you see that you lived through it and some of your friends did not. And so we lost out of the several, I went over with several hundred guys, only 25 of us lived. And almost all of us have been wounded at least once. So the odds were pretty much against us, you know. The infantry that I was a part of represented only 10% of the guys who were there. But we had probably 80% of the wounds and deaths and so on. So it was pretty hairy, you know.
I want to be careful how I ask this, Den, because I can't imagine the kind of like trauma and the things that you've had to go through. And I watch you just handle life and how you lead in our ministry here at the church. And I think it's when you got that, when you spoke for that Purple Heart recently and you shared from your heart, I think it was the first time that I kind of felt a little bit some of that pain that you actually go through. You even talked about at nighttime, you thinking in dreams. And let's say, when you come across someone who's experienced what you have, do you guys even talk about that, or what happens in that? Because I'm just curious. Do you guys open up about like some of the pain, or is that stuff you just kind of push away, or what?
I have gotten in conversations with guys who, see, not everybody who went to Vietnam even saw the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them had jobs in the rear, like maybe they were working in the mess hall, maybe they were dealing with mail, maybe they were dealing with supply, maybe they were a liaison of some kind, you know. So a lot of them never even came close to an enemy, but we went out looking for them every day to kill them. And on the thing you were talking about for getting a Purple Heart and so on, one of the things that grieved me was one of the first times that I shot somebody. We went out on a patrol one night, and we saw movement about 200 yards away or so, and it was dark, you know. But we called back to the rear, told them we had movements, you know, in our area. They said, well, nobody's supposed to be there, fire them up. And so we just started shooting, and about 3 or 4 minutes later, we were told to stop because we were shooting our own guys. These guys had decided not to obey the commanders who had told them to be someplace else. They decided to do what we call sandbag it. So they sandbagged their patrol, didn't go out on it. And because of that, we came in touch with them where we were, and we didn't know they were supposed to be any friendlies in the area. And so we fired them up. And yeah, I've had strange feelings about that. I mean, that happened 50 years ago, but I still think about it, you know, periodically. So, yeah.
When I say this out of like all like respect, I even feel uncomfortable asking, but how did you work through that? Like, or how would you even how do you work through something like that? Or
well, so when I came home from Vietnam, being in the Marines, you know, that whole time, I came home and I struggled a lot. I don't even know, you know, how much to even say, but let's just say I had nightmares a lot. I periodically thought about killing people, you know, and it's like, you know, I'd be standing in a line someplace and I'd think, how can I take these people out just in case? And it's like, that's not a healthy way to look at life. I wasn't a Christian at the time. I was, you know, just sowing my oats at that point still in my early 20s. And anyway, I went back to Vietnam after joining the Army. They retrained me in helicopters. So I worked on helicopters for 5 years, avionics. And but as soon as I got back to Vietnam, I mean, the mortars started coming in and rockets at nighttime. They were trying to hit the helicopters, you know, that we were working on and destroy them. And so every time I'd hear them coming, I would run into the bunker or whatever, try to hide from the explosions. And I would hear these questions rattling in my mind of, man, what happens when you die? And is there a God? And what's our purpose for being here? I mean, there must be something. And those questions haunted me for years. And it was those questions that one night I was talking with some guys in my unit, and these guys were weird. I mean, they carried a Bible. I mean, what kind of person carries a Bible with them, you know? Anyway, one night we were talking, and I told them about my questions and so on. They said, you know what? This book has the answers to your questions. And I said, you got to be kidding. There's nothing relevant in that book. And they said, oh, yeah, there is. And I said, well, show me. And they said, here, open it anywhere. And so I opened the Bible just to the middle. I didn't know what was in the Bible. I had never read it. And so I opened it up to the middle, thinking I would find some Shakespearean language, you know, go hither and there and all this sort of stuff. And anyway, instead, I came to what I call the most powerful verse in the Bible. It's Proverbs 25:24, and it says, it is better to live in the corner of an attic than in a beautiful house with a cranky and quarrelsome woman. And I said, that is truth, man. That is truth. And so I went out after that and I prayed the first prayer I ever prayed. And it was basically this: if you're for real, I want to know you. Prove to me that you exist and I'll believe in you. And he did.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know how to say it. The lightning didn't strike, the ground didn't open, but somehow, as I turned to walk away, I knew there was a God, and I knew He had heard my prayer.
Wow.
And that began the beginning of my transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really come to Christ until about 6 months later, but it started me on that trail. And anyway, the war ended shortly after that. I came home, and we weren't exactly treated right when we came home. A lot of us were spit on. Some places wouldn't even serve us a drink, like at a bar or at a restaurant. They wouldn't serve us. We couldn't wear our uniforms, couldn't wear any kind of hat, like this to say, you're a Vietnam vet or whatever. No, you weren't allowed to do that.
What was that?
Because we were.
What was that like, Dan? Like what? Like I bet there was. You found Christ, then you're coming back. You're not being appreciated. Realize
Right.
what you went through. Like
Right.
what was going through? You got Jesus in your heart now, but you also got. Wow, we're being treated. What was that like for you?
Well, see, we weren't really allowed to, or even encouraged, to wear our stuff until the Iraq War, when the guys went over and fought a 100-hour war and won, and they came home, and they were putting up yellow ribbons around all the trees and so on. And a lot of us who had served in Vietnam, I mean, it's happened to me repeatedly. I'd drive down the road in some small town, and they'd have all these ribbons up, welcoming these guys home. Yeah, we never got that. We never really got welcomed at all. Instead, we were spit on, and even the government washed its hands of us. So I would drive down the road, and I'd see that, and I would just start weeping. I just didn't know how to control it or hold it back.
I mean, so much of that was because, you guys came back, and if I remember right, not that I was alive at that point, but the nation was really divided.
There were
people's,
protests going on
yeah.
everywhere, sit-ins, and all this sort of stuff, yeah. And so the government didn't know how to handle that. The colleges didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Because we felt rejected. And see, a lot of times in wartime situations, they would do a parade or something for the people who are coming back from the battle. They would celebrate that you're still alive, or, you made it through it, or whatever. And that, in a sense, takes away some of the guilt that you would feel from, war's a bloody mess, It's like, you wonder sometimes, why are we even doing this? It's like the politicians are the ones who send us over there and tell us to kill these people. We don't know why. We just go do what they tell us to do.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of politics involved in the Vietnam War. And
am I right? Was the Vietnam War, did that go on for 20 years, or roughly 20 years?
So it really, it started really in many ways from 1945. We had people over there.
Okay.
From 1945 to 1975. So
wow,
we didn't have all of our troops there during that whole time, but we did have advisors and various things. The war actually ended in February, February 1973. Wow. I was there when it ended. I remember just throwing our weapons down and just walking away.
Wow.
I remember we were putting tanks into the ocean, just dumping them in there.
Wow.
It was so crazy. It's like, it was like, why would we do that?
Just like that.
But anyway,
I think I remember reading that there was like over 2 million, I think, American soldiers that fought, over the course of that war. And you had said that you enlisted when you were 19, was it? And
that was the average age.
Yeah, that was the average age I read too.
And the numbers of people involved in the Vietnam War was really closer to 8 to 10 million.
Oh, really? Okay.
8 to 10 million, yeah.
Okay.
And of course, out of that, 58,000 were killed, but several million, I think, were wounded in the process. I was one of the wounded ones. I was at a place where there was an explosion, and I got shrapnel in my face and my eyes. Couldn't see for a while, and they flew me out to a hospital ship, a Navy hospital ship, and worked on me and tried to fix my eyes and so on, so that I could see. And thank God, at least I got it back so that I could see.
Well, I feel like this is a good time for us just to honestly, Dan, thank you so much for your service.
Thanks.
And I mean, I don't even think we could really come up with the right words to say to you. Thank you for just even sharing what you have today.
Even this, Nate, even like it's just like so you appreciate even all the more of everything that he says because like you have an idea. We don't even have an idea. Take that back of any idea what it would be like, but even to hear, like, I mean, that's why it's so important people to listen to this to hear like this is what they went through. This is what they felt like. You know.
Well, I read this kind of in prepping a little bit for this conversation today. You know the term post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. They actually coined that term
after the Vietnam War.
Right, right. I mean, you think of, and this isn't to diminish by any means anybody else's PTSD that they might have over any other thing that they might be dealing with, but the reality is that's where that term came from. And then you think now about all the people that, you know, they kind of like stand behind that a little bit, like that they have that. But I mean, we've heard just a little bit from Den, you know, from his, you know, memory of what it was he saw, what he experienced, what he had to do.
When you hear some people talk about having PTSD, it's like, well, you know, my cat scratched me.
I'm sure you have to feel that way.
Like, I mean, are you kidding me? Your cat scratched and you're PTSD.
Yeah.
No.
How hard is it, Den, for you not to even say something in those moments? Like, is it hard?
It is hard.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we knew there was something wrong, you know, because we're having nightmares all the time and cold sweats and waking up and looking for our rifle, you know, in the middle of the night. I was still having those when Karen and I got married in 1979. And she freaked out the first night we slept together. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. What did I do?
Wow.
And
does it get better, Dan?
for me, yeah, it does. When I came to Jesus and gave him my life, I asked him to heal my soul, you know, from everything that happened. And I can really say that although I still think about Vietnam periodically, it doesn't really control my life. It's I had a lot of hatred when I came home from Vietnam. I hated the Vietnamese people for killing all my friends. I hated our government for turning their back on us. I hated some of the responses of the protesters and so on. A lot of us dealt with deep emotions, and we didn't know what to do with that. And even psychologists and psychiatrists, they didn't know what to do either. They didn't really coin the term of PTSD until, I don't know, 5 to 10 years after we were back.
Yeah.
And a lot of us were struggling with these things. They, you know, they had other names for it, you know, for World War II and so on. But PTSD was the one that they used to describe us. And yeah, a lot of us struggled with that. And I still meet Vietnam vets even today whose mind is still not quite right. I mean, some guys went and off the deep end on getting addicted to drugs, heroin, or, you know, whatever. Some went and lived in the woods. You know, some left the country and moved to Canada or whatever. They all reacted to it a little differently, you know, but I do think there's healing. I do think there's hope for veterans who have, I mean, war is a terrible thing to see. You don't really want to see people lose their arms and their legs or have their eyeballs shot out or whatever. It's bloody. It's a mess, you know, and it does make an impact. I mean, it's hard to forget that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, you want to go on with your life and somehow find forgiveness and so on. And that can only be found, I think, in Jesus.
Yeah. Amen.
He's the one who is our Savior. He's the one who died for our sins. And anything you may have done in the war, you know, you slice somebody's throat. I mean, whatever you might have done, you can be forgiven for all of that. And there is hope in Jesus.
I love it. This goes to the next question, Dan. Like, so here you went through all this experience, these difficulties, like things that we can't even imagine. And thank you for sharing, by the way. But you become a chaplain. So all this stuff now so tell us how you came about doing that.
Okay. Well, so I decided to go to college on the GI Bill, and they paid for me to get a bachelor's degree and then go on and even get a master's degree. And it was in the process of doing that I met Karen. And she was, we were both going to school at Spring Arbor University. And we fell in love and decided to get married. And we were both going to go on for our master's degrees right in the same area in Indiana. I went to Anderson and she went to Ball State. Mm-hmm. She was going to do deaf education, doing sign language and that sort of thing. And I was going to do a degree in psychology. And so that was our college together. We stayed down in Indiana, had our first child down there. And anyway, when I was in Indiana, see, I've really felt a call to the ministry as soon as I came to Christ. I mean, like within the first month. But I had never met a chaplain really in the military who told me you need Jesus or, whatever. I never met anybody like that. Instead, it was two guys who were just, regular guys like me, enlisted guys, when we lived in the same shack together, So anyway, I thought if those guys could lead me to Jesus, and I needed him so desperately, why can't a chaplain do that? Mm-hmm. And so I prayed about it and committed it to God, and I felt like God calling me to do that. It took me 10 years from the time I prayed that prayer to become a chaplain. Mm-hmm. 10 years.
Wow.
Had a lot of hoops I had to jump through. I didn't have a college degree at that time, and so I started to work on getting a college degree, and then I had to get a 3-year master's degree, and then I had to pastor for a couple of years. I had to get approval, from our denominational board in Nashville, Tennessee. I had to take pastoral education and so on at a hospital, basically be a chaplain at a hospital.
And was that to be a chaplain in the military?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow. And then, of course, you have to meet all the physical requirements and so on, the age requirements.
What do you mean by the physical requirements? What do you got to do as a chaplain?
You have to be able to do push-ups,
So, no, there's still things you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to be fit to be able to do it.
Oh, yeah, and you have to weigh a certain amount of weight and
all
that
did you know
stuff.
That? Nate,
I think I did.
Did you
Do you know Jim Miller?
Yeah.
He was a chaplain. I think I remember him telling me about that. But
So the requirements, you've got to meet all the denominational stuff, but then you also have to meet the military stuff. Mm-hmm. And age was an issue too. I had to be in before I was 40. Mm. And when I finished all my stuff, I was like 39.
Wow.
And I was kind of waffling back and forth, and anyway, not knowing which branch to even go into. And God kind of led me to go into the Army. And I was 39 and a half when I reached that point. Wow. Called the Pentagon, and they said, okay, we've got a slot for you. We're going to put you in. And so I met all the requirements, the weight and everything else, and they came down on orders, Fort Hood, Texas.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's where I went. And Karen came down there and joined me, and we spent several years down there.
How long were you a chaplain for?
I was a chaplain for 16 years. I was on active duty, though, for about 10 years prior to that.
Okay.
So.
And you guys had kids at this time, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had 3 kids when we went to Fort Hood.
Okay.
And
so they have a place for you that you go to and all that? Do they have a...
They have
how's that work?
On-post housing and so on. And so we lived on post, and we had people from Panama or Germany or, other places right next door to us. We did Bible studies in the on the base, with families who lived right around us and so on. It was a great time. I got to lead people to Christ in tanks, in helicopters, in even a garbage truck. I remember one time. Just all foxholes, whatever. Anywhere people would be, I would go to where they were at and just share Jesus.
I'm sure God, there's just tons of stories how God used you as a chaplain. Yeah. Give us some real, those are amazing examples where you're leading Bible stories. Any where I led this guy, the Lord, in this moment, they're in a very difficult situation. What?
Well, there was one guy who was, if you know how the military works, it's very structured and so on. And you have a lot of rules and regulations and that sort of thing. the officers, if you're a lieutenant or a captain or a major or a colonel or a general, whatever, there's a lot of political games you play. And so I was a captain when I went in, and then I became a major and so on. And anyway, we went to military balls and did all kinds of things. That was just part of the requirement, you know. And but I remember one guy who was a major, and we would sit and talk. He was like really over me in the unit that we were in and so on, but we would talk about Jesus and so on. And he had been raised, you know, to know the Lord, but he hadn't really taken the final step, you know. And so we would talk about it. I remember just sitting in his Jeep one day. It was raining out, and we were just sitting there, and I was telling him my story and telling him how he needed Christ. And yeah, he prayed and received Jesus.
Wow.
And but I mean, there are hundreds of stories like that, you know, and it's like, it was such a great ministry. I loved it when we went out in the field, because I would do, every day was Sunday. I mean, that was our motto. So we would have services. I mean, it didn't matter.
That way.
It didn't matter if we only had 6 or 7 guys, or if we had a dozen, or if we had 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. You know, wherever it was, we would just have a service right wherever the guys were. I would oftentimes serve chow, because that was the only time everybody would gather together. And so I'd be right in the line serving the food and so on to the guys, and talking to them and praying with them sometimes, or asking them how things are going, or if there's anything I can do. And we did a lot of counseling during those days, especially for marriages. Marriages in the military, I mean, it's like 5 times as much as likely to get a divorce as you are with civilians on the outside. And we had a 24-hour hotline kind of thing, which I would often monitor. And, you know, we had guys calling in who were suicidal, and suicide's a big issue among the guys. And again, it's just because you see these terrible things in war, and you can't make sense out of it. And so you don't know what to do with all that.
Yeah.
And your mind is conflicted, you know, and a lot of guys just give up.
My brother-in-law, like was in the military, and he said that the hardest thing, I just asking you if what you think about this. He said the hardest thing was coming back and not having the kind of brother connection that he had.
Sure.
To come back and try to like maneuver, and like even having a boss, and like being in the position that he was in, and then like trying to maneuver with this young kid who's his boss, and when he was in charge of leading a bunch of people, to he even says like I wanted to be a police officer. I tried to find all of these jobs where I could connect with a kind of brotherhood that I had from that experience, and I said I could never find it. So he like struggled. How would you relate with that?
Well, I became a police officer. I mean, I worked for the state police of Michigan for 10 years. But again, it was a good experience. Sometimes I'd have to give death notices in the middle of the night. Just walk up. I remember this one Hispanic family, and they lost three teenage boys one night because they were driving reckless on a back road. And they couldn't control it, and the cars wrecked, and they all died. And I had to go and deliver the death notice like at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh my gosh,
that was tough. I had to do it on the military side too, because we'd have a helicopter crash or whatever. I remember going to Houston to deliver a death notice. And I got there, and then the family asked me if I would stick around and do the funeral, and so I did the funeral. I was there for several days, and anyway, that's just a part of life. You know, and if you're going to be a chaplain, you're going to be called on to do that kind of thing. I had one guy in one of my churches. He had been in Vietnam. He was in an infantry unit just like I was. And so he and I had talked many times about the things we saw in battle and so on. And one night, his wife called me about 2:30, 3:00 in the morning. She said, "Den, you got to get over here right now. Wilbur is thinking he's seeing people in black pajamas all around the house. He's getting out his elephant guns. You get over here now."
Oh my gosh.
And so I went over and tried to talk him off the ledge, led him to Christ. We prayed. He was kind of struggling for several months. And so for several months, we had many meetings together and prayer. And I talked with him about it. At the end of that time, he said, Den, I want to go back to Vietnam. I want you to go with me. And I said, Wilbur, man, I barely made it out after being there twice. You know, it's like the third time, man, they might take me out this time. I just don't know if I want to do that. But anyway, we prayed about it and talked about it. And finally I said, okay, I'll go with you. So we were going to go on a group called Vets with a Mission. And we were going to go over there and help some of the local churches and so on, and help a school. We had a medical team that went with us, and they went in to help the people in the hospitals and so on, teach them new ways of doing surgery and the various things. Anyway, so we went over there, spent 15 days there. It seemed like it was a great time. He smiled a lot. He laughed a lot. And when our time was up, we came home. 2 months later, he went into his barn and hung himself. And and I was asked to do the funeral, and I mean I did it, but I was weeping through it. You know, it's like I just don't get it. You know, it's like, man, I thought you were finding healing and hope, and yet. The damage, I mean, it just does great damage to your soul. It isn't just so much a physical thing, but it's a thing of the heart. Yeah. And there is healing for it, I think. And I think Samaritan's Purse has been doing some good stuff, trying to take vets like up to Alaska or whatever, and take them on fishing trips and various other things, and try to do some group things and so on. And they are helping some people. And there's other groups around that are doing similar kinds of things. But yeah, it does deeply wound you.
So I never know, even as a pastor, like knowing what to say when someone like you shares something like that, Dan. But what I will say is, thank you for investing in him, pouring your life into him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So you went with them. You were there with them. You did everything you can, and but I just thank you for caring for people, man. And honestly, thank you for like being so real with us, because honestly, like I think people need to hear this. So really do appreciate you. I want to ask you a question about your wife.
Sure.
I know that you she's awesome, by the way.
She is. Yeah, she is.
I watch her the ministry.
I had a list, before I met Karen. Here's what my wife will look like. She's got to be able to play the piano. She's got to be able to sing. She's got to love kids. Be either a teacher or a nurse. I mean, I just had this checklist, and when I met Karen, I just started going through the list, and it's like she met everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so we've been together now 46 years.
Yeah.
And I think we have a great relationship, and we do run the BYF program here at the church. And again, we have 150 older people who, senior citizens, they're on the end of life. And we want to try to share with them about Christ at least once a month or so. And because, you're at the end, and it's like we want to make sure you're in the kingdom before you die. And so we talk a lot about hope, the hope of eternal life, the hope in Jesus, and how we can get saved and trust in him. And we've had quite a few people join the church. We've had quite a few people accept Christ. And we've shed a lot of tears there too, because we visit them in nursing homes or in their homes. We take them food. I mean, we just try to love them as best we can.
They literally give their whole life to that ministry, Nate. You see that
we
too.
do.
Like,
I mean, it
like
just
everything.
It takes every day of the week, basically.
My dad goes to Nate, and he just it's a highlight for him. Like it's like, and I was thinking about like the example of a real church sometimes, and I know it sounds weird as a pastor to say this, but people come on Sunday sometimes, they sit, they listen to the message, they stand up, they maybe greet each other. There's some good interaction afterwards. Our church is a good home feeling church, Yeah. But when you go to BYF, you're sitting around a table, you're eating together, you're laughing at his wife, Karen, who is hilarious.
She's funny.
And they have a whole program.
She writes her own joke every week and does skits, and oh man.
And literally they're in line, they're sitting at the tables, they're laughing, there's music, there's jokes, there's presentations on the screen, there's
It's
dessert,
amazing.
which I try to keep my dad away from the dessert table. And then Den comes up and gives a message,
A word from the word.
Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, it's the people that go there. And if you're a senior and you're listening, like if there's anything you could do, if you live around here, go to BYF. The ministries. You agree, Nate? Amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%, dude. I wish I had like a fraction of the energy that Karen has. She's incredible, but it's such a, I mean, it's just a family. I mean, people, they look forward to it. And, we have other people at the church, they run around this community and tell everybody they can about it. So it's like
we've even had your
it's like
kids,
a youth group. Yeah.
Even your kids have told people to come, So
basically like a
great.
youth group for older folks. But we're so blessed as a church to have that.
And we have taken the people on bus trips. I mean, we'll rent a bus and so on and take them down to, like down into Kentucky to Creation Museum or to Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
We've taken them to Shipshewana several times. We've gone to Turkeyville a number of times. Those are just little outings. Yeah, we just went to Frankenmuth.
Didn't you guys go to Noah's the Ark? Didn't you go to the Ark once?
Oh yeah, we did.
How long ago? That was a few years ago.
So that was an overnight trip, but I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But that was great.
Yeah.
And we had, I don't know, I mean, our bus takes 55 people, and so we usually had packed buses on all of our trips. So
that's amazing.
And that's on Fridays, just so you might have just mentioned it, but just so anybody that's listening, Fridays at noon till 2.
Exactly, and we do get out at 2
You
o'clock.
guys are right out at 2.
Yeah,
There's
very
no bending
much on
that.
them.
Even if Nate's in there talking, I will come up and put my hand on
He
his
really
shoulder.
will. He does. He
And
comes
like,
up and he pats my shoulder like,
okay, this is
that's
it, man.
enough.
You're all done.
That's awesome.
It's fun though.
That's great.
We laugh a lot, we cry a lot. We pray for each other every week, and so it's been a great ministry.
Well, Dan, as we start to kind of conclude this or start to close this up, what would you say maybe to like the everyday person? What are some ways that like people like Nate and I, people like, the rest of our church who didn't serve in the military, what are some ways that we could really do our part to honor like vets? Just a couple weeks ago, I know it was Veterans Day.
Sure.
But what are some just ongoing ways that we can be mindful of really caring for those who fought for this country? Because what's the saying? Some gave all gave some.
Sure.
You were a wounded vet yourself. Are there any ways that you can think of that we can really encourage? Alongside,
it's like, we don't really know how to act a lot of times, even when people say thank you, it's like we don't know quite what to say about that. But I think just appreciating the folks who are there, recognize them, like both of you have done that in our morning services and stuff like that. It's a small thing, but it does make us feel more at home, I guess you might say, and more welcome. And I don't really know what else to say.
That's enough.
Yeah.
It's like we're not expecting you to understand what we had to go through, but again, just sort of a welcome home kind of thing. It's.
Do you feel that people do that now? Like if you wear your hat, do you feel like there's more of a
yes,
like where people say thank you for your service?
Yeah.
What does that do when you hear that? Even though I know you're a very confident person, I know you're a person that doesn't always feel like maybe you need that, but what does it do to hear that from somebody?
So, what it often does is it takes me back to Vietnam, and I'll remember the guys that we lost, the guys who got shot, the guys who died. I remember carrying 6 guys out in body bags, because we were surrounded by the enemy and we couldn't get a helicopter in. And so we had to carry them up a mountain. And, there'd be 3 or 4 of us, on each body bag, and it's heavy. And it's 100 degrees or more, and you've got your own weapons and, at least 50 pounds of gear, and you're trying to carry these dead guys up a mountain. And it marks you. You just remember those things. And sometimes when people say thank you, you just look back at it, you wonder, with all the politics that went on with it and so on. The government lied to us. They didn't tell us the truth of what was even going on or why we were there. Or, so many things took place that we felt betrayed by almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you fix that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, just love them, pray for them,
Mm-hmm.
encourage them.
Some simple ways. I know, like, some people, every time they see somebody with a hat on or even a sweatshirt, they'll walk right up to them, shake their hand, and thank them.
Yeah.
I've known a lot of people who you'll be sitting in a restaurant, you'll see somebody with a hat on or, again, some kind of paraphernalia, and people that'll just buy them their meal, just simply out
Which
of
is
just showing
awesome.
them love.
Have you had that happen before, Dan?
Oh, yeah, I've had it happen many times.
That's awesome.
And that's great.
Yeah.
I think,
and it's usually a surprise every time it happens.
That's
It's
great.
like, wow.
I think how is it, I mean, this is random to think of this, but how is it that we could even engage in what kind of questions to ask somebody to go a little deeper to honor what they did, but also sometimes guys don't want to go deep into it to talk.
You're right.
What is there? How could we engage in a conversation or something that we could, but how would you recommend us doing that, or people who are listening?
I went to a VA. I was asked to come in and talk with some Vietnam vets, and I went in and I met with a group of them, and I asked them what was going on, and they said, "We're here at this VA clinic. We're looking for help, but the people running this show, they keep sending us out 17, 18-year-old high school students who don't know anything about who we are or what we're doing, and they're telling us to listen to what they have to say." And it's just like a slap in the face. It's like they can talk to other people who have been there, who understand, what combat is like. And I've gone up to, I remember I was a chaplain with Samaritan's Purse in Houston during the hurricane, and we were going house to house and basically knocking down all the walls, pulling out the furniture, just putting everything up against the curb outside. And I met one guy there who had been a gunner in a Marine unit. And he started telling me his story, and we just stood there. I mean, I was there to help him, but he was really helping me too. And we both just started weeping over the things that had taken place. I understood him, he understood me, and we just connected. And that doesn't happen all the time, but just once in a while. Again, we're not expecting you to understand what we went through, and we're not. A lot of the guys would not even ask for prayer, even though they really need it. So I would say just offer to pray for them. Can I just pray for you? Prayer is a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that we give to people. And obviously, if you have tracts or something, you can share that with them, because then they can go home and read it and think about it, And so I've published 12 books, and I've done dozens of tracts for not all just me, but for other people as well. And I like handing out tracts and just giving them to people. And we've had lots of comments from many people around the world who have read them and said, "Man, that really touched my heart." So
it's a little different in thinking this, but I want to just remind everybody who's listening too, prayer doesn't need to be a close of a conversation that we have with people. Prayer, sometimes I think people use prayer to say, well, we're done with this conversation now, and prayer is a chance to encourage and uplift and help people.
Prayer is powerful.
I know. I was just thinking about how people use prayer to just close out like a time. And that's not an example what he's talking about of a prayer. A prayer might be in the middle of caring for this man. It opens up tons of dialogue after the prayer and taking the time to just sit with people and what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Is so
and I would
huge.
say, don't be weird about it. Don't try to, stand on top of a table and, embarrass him in front of the whole group or whatever. Just put your hand on his shoulder and just say, "Man, let me pray for you."
Yeah.
That's a gift. It's a wonderful thing.
Dan, if you could, like in closing, if you could look into the camera, it's right over here, and just share from your heart, maybe for what you want to tell people who maybe it's a veteran, maybe it's a church member here, and this is how they need to understand, or just share from your heart.
Well, I would say, first off, that everybody is fragile. I mean, we all have days when we're more vulnerable than others, and any of us can be hurt deeply by comments of others, by experiences that we have. You know, if you've been in a place where there's been an attack or an explosion or something, or even a bad car wreck, I mean, you might never forget what happened there. And of course, if you're in combat, the same thing is true there. But there's hope. There is hope for healing. There is hope for a better day. And I would say, don't kill yourself. Don't go off that ledge. Find somebody that you can trust, somebody you can talk to. Find somebody who will pray for you and help walk you through that. Because there is life even after terrible things have happened. So I would encourage you. God can hear you no matter where you are. Just say, God, help me. I did that, and it helped me. And I'm sure he can help you as well.
It's powerful.
Dan, I'm just could you just real quick on maybe in another way, just to let people know, a little bit about BYF and how people could come, because this is a ministry that if you're a vet, I would encourage you to come. Like if you're a person who is a senior, just a little bit about that ministry so that people would know, kind of going on a more of a plug to that ministry.
So my wife and I have been running this program for going on 8 years right now. And every noon on Friday, unless it's a holiday, like on this coming Thursday is going to be like Thanksgiving and so on. And so we won't meet on that Friday because it's too close to a holiday. But as long as it's not a holiday, we meet every Friday from 12 to 2. And again, it's food, fun, fellowship, and faith. Our motto is, you're not dead yet, let's have fun. And so and we try to do that. We try to laugh and we try to enjoy each other. We play games, we sing songs, sometimes even hymns. I don't know. It's just a great time. And the food is usually good. Everything's free. It doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is show up. So every Friday from 12 to 2 here at Stoney Church.
That's great.
Go ahead, Nate.
Well, as we close, I want to thank you again for tuning in, and it's a joy and what an honor, truly, Den, to have you here today. And we hope that many are blessed and
I think we need to
encouraged.
I think we need to have him again here.
Yeah, we should.
Just
there's lots of things that we could talk to Den about. But truly, we feel honored that you've shared your time with us today. And make sure that as you listen to this, if this has been any kind of an encouragement and inspiration to you, that you would share this podcast. And we are on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon. So
Good
all the
job,
different
mate.
platforms.
So if you're on YouTube, what do they look for?
So on YouTube, you would look for Stoney Sessions. Just make sure you land on the right Stoney Sessions.
Okay.
But yeah, so Stoney Sessions on YouTube podcast.
Great.
Yeah.
That's where they'll find us. And that's where they'll find the video.
Okay.
The other ones are just audio.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, and if you want, like if you have an Apple phone, it has like podcast things that you can click on, and all you do is you press follow, and you can watch that too. That's how I most listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and if you're able to join us on Sundays, we have services at 9:11 here at Stoney. We're at the corner of 26 and Jewel in Washington Township.
And my wife and I go to the early service.
Yeah.
Look for Pastor.
I'm usually up at
Karen.
4 o'clock every day. So.
Oh goodness, not me. No wonder you were here on time.
Yeah,
today,
he
Dan.
was.
You were already up for a
Hey,
couple
it's
hours.
number 5, man. Faithful always. You know. If you're on time, you're late. You know. So
Yeah.
Well, then, would you mind closing us in
Sure.
prayer?
Father, we want to thank you for your goodness and kindness. You are a great God. You understand us better than anybody else ever can. There are people who are listening to this, Father, from all kinds of walks of life. They may be struggling with their own battles. They need your help and encouragement. I would pray that you would minister to them. I pray you to reach out to them, that they might know your love and your grace and your mercy, that they might find Jesus and turn to him and cry out for salvation and just say, Jesus, come into my life. I need you now. Lord, we all need you. So I thank you for those who are watching. Bless them as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen.
I want to say one thing with Den. I want to once again thank you, Den, and I want to say this too, like any of our church members or people that are here on a Sunday. I want to encourage you, just if you did hear this, if you did take the time to listen to this, please let Den know and tell him thank you.
That'd be awesome.
We appreciate each of you and really want to encourage you to send this out. I think it's very, very important that people hear this podcast. So if you have somebody who has experienced some of the things that Den has went through, I would encourage you to encourage it to send this on to people, and it might open up a dialogue maybe for them to even have it with Den.
And you want to thank Pastor Nate and Pastor Nathan too for even doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have a heart for you, and they're just trying to reach out to you and encourage you. So encourage them back.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for turning in, and please share this on so that this can be a blessing to help somebody. Thank you.
Amen. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We're so glad that you're here.
If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with a friend and help grow our podcast community.
We'd love to see you this Sunday at Stoney Church, services at 9 or 11 a.m.
We're dropping the next episode next Wednesday at 12 noon.
Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.
Join us then, and until next time, stay inspired.
And see you soon.